Okay, call has been had. Suddenly, a noisy din goes up. Hulks of peasants come pouring out of the tavern, shouting, singing, balalaikas strumming, drunk, blind drunk, in red and blue shirts, coats flung over their shoulders. All aboard, everyone, get in, one yells. He is still young. He has a thick neck and a beefy red face. All aboard, I'll take everybody. Laughter and exclamations ring out. Look at that nag. He says he's going to take everybody. What's wrong with you, Misha? You nuts or something, hitching that little mare up to the big wagon? Listen, you guys, I bet that sorrel's 20 if she's a day. All aboard, I'll take you all, Misha shouts again. He leaps first onto the wagon, takes the reins up front, and stands at full height. Matvey took the bay, he shouts from the wagon. But this little mare, I tell you, you guys, she breaks my heart. She don't earn her keep, so if I kill her, so what? All aboard, I say. I'll make her gallop. She'll gallop all right. He takes the whip in his hands and gets ready to gleefully flog the sorrel. Well, come on, let's get aboard, the crowd laughs. Did you hear that? She's gonna gallop. She ain't galloped for 10 years. She'll skip. Don't worry, you guys. Take your whips. Come on, let's go. Okay, let her have it. They piled into Misha's wagon, laughing and joking. 6 men climb aboard, and there's room for more. They take a fat, red-faced peasant woman along with them. She wears a red calico dress. She's plumed and beaded, with high-top shoes on her feet. She's cracking nuts and laughing, and the crowd all around they're laughing too. And to tell the truth, it's hard not to laugh. Such a miserable runt of a mare trying to gallop with a load like that. 2 fellows in the wagon start using their whips, helping Misha. They all shout, "Gee up!" and the mare strains with all her might. But not only does she not gallop, it is all she can do to move forward at all. Her legs make pathetic little pong motions. She groans and cowers as the blows of 3 whips drop on her little like hailstones. The laughter in the crowd and in the wagon doubles, but Misha is beginning to lose his temper, and he flogs the little mare furiously, with quickened blows, exactly as though he really believed she could gallop. "Let me get on to you guys," shouts a young fellow from the crowd, who had worked up a taste for the occasion. All aboard, everybody," Misha yells. "She'll pull everybody, I'll whip her." And he lashes and lashes, no longer knowing why, hitting out in a frenzy. "Zaddy! Zaddy!" shouts his father. "Zaddy! What are they doing? Zaddy, they're beating the poor horsey!" Let's go," his father says. "They're drunk, they're fooling around, they're idiots! You mustn't look, let's go!" His father tries to lead him away, but he tears himself loose from his father's hands, and beside himself runs towards the horse. For the poor horse, things are in a bad way. She is breathing hard, stopping, straining again, almost falling. "Whip her to death!" Misha yells. "I don't mind, I'll whip her myself." An old man shouts indignantly from the crowd. "How come there's a cross on you? You're no Christian, you're a devil!" Another adds, "You can't see the horse can't pull a load like that." A third shouts, "You're doing her in." "Mind your own business, I'll do what I please. All aboard, everybody, everybody aboard. I want her to gallop, and she'll gallop." Suddenly a volley of laughter erupts that drowns out everything else. Unable to stand the intensified beating, the little mare in her impotence had begun to kick. Even the old man, unable to restrain himself, breaks out laughing. "Imagine a pack of bones like that, and yet she kicks!" 2 young fellows from the crowd armed themselves with whips, intending to flog her, one from each side. "On the muzzle! Hit her in the eyes! Hit her in the eyes!" Misha shouts. "Hey, you guys," someone shouts from the wagon, "let's have a song." And everybody in the wagon all joins in. There is a rowdy song, the clash of tambourines, shrill whistling during the refrains. The peasant woman goes on, cracking nuts and laughing. He runs up to the mare. He runs out in front of her a little. He sees how she's being whipped around the eyes. Right around the eyes! He weeps. His heart heaves. His tears flow. A blow glances across his face, but he does not feel it. He wrings his hands. He shouts. He pushes his way towards the old gray bear, shaking his head, disapproving of all of this. The woman takes him by the hand and tries to lead him off, but he tears himself away and runs back to the horse. She's on her last legs, but once again starts to kick. "You damn bloody devil!" Misha screams out in a fury. He throws away his whip, bends down, and fishes a long, thick shaft from the bottom of the wagon. Taking a hold of it by one end with both hands, with an effort he swings it over the sorrel. The shout goes up. "He's going to let her have it! He'll kill her!" "It's my business!" Misha yells, and he brings the shaft down with all his might. There is a sound of a heavy blow. Voices from the crowd, "Whip her! Whip her! Why stop?" Misha swings again, and another blow comes down hard on the back of the unfortunate mare. She sinks back down on her haunches, only to leap up again. She strains and strains with all the strength she has left, trying first in one direction and then in another to move the wagon. Whichever side she tries, however, she is met by 6 whips, and the shaft rises again and falls a third, and then a 4th time, slowly and with great force. Misha is furious at not being able to kill her with one blow. "She's got a lot of spunk," they shout. One of the sports shouts from the crowd, "She's had it now, you guys. This is the end of her." and someone else shouts, "Go get an axe! Finish her off quick!" "Hey, eat bugs, you crapper!" Misha yells furiously at the mare. "Let me through!" He throws down the shaft, bends down into the wagon again, and comes up with a crowbar. "Watch it!" he shouts, and with all his might he deals the poor horse a shattering blow. The mare staggers, sits back, is about to try pulling again, but the bar comes down at full force on her back. She falls to the ground as though all four legs had been knocked out from under her all at once. Beside himself, Misha, leaping from the wagon, yells, "Let her have it!" A few drunk, red-faced young fellows grab what comes their way, whips, canes, a shaft, and run up to the dying mare. Misha stands to one side and starts beating her across the back at random with a crowbar. The mare stretches out her muzzle, draws a heavy breath, and dies. "You butchered her!" they shout in the crowd. "Why wouldn't she gallop?" "It's my business!" Misha shouts, the crowbar in his hands, his eyes all bloodshot. He stands there as though he were sorry. There's nothing more to whip. Sorry, I ate a burger for dinner. And mashed potatoes. "Well, anybody can see you don't wear no Christian cross," comes from a hubbub of voices in the crowd. But by now the poor boy is beside himself. With a shout, he plunges through the crowd to the sorrel, embraces her dead, blood-stained muzzle, and he kisses her. Kisses her on the eyes, on the mouth. He's freaky with it. Suddenly, he leaps up and flings himself on Misha, striking out in a frenzy with his fist. At that moment, his father, who had been pursuing him for some time, catches hold of him at last and carries him out of the crowd. Let's go, his father says to him. "Let's go home." "Zaddy, why did they... The poor horse, they killed her," he sobs. But his breath catches, and the words come as cries from his heaving breast. "They're drunk, they're fooling around, it's not our business, let's go," his father says. He throws his arms around his father, but his chest feels very tight. He wants to draw breath, to cry out, and he wakes up. He woke up drenched in sweat. His hair was damp with sweat. He was panting, and he rose in terror. "Thank God this is only a dream," he said, sitting down at the foot of a tree and inhaling deeply. "What's it all about, though? Am I coming down with a fever, or what? Such a hideous dream." His whole body felt as though it had been shattered. In spirit, he felt troubled and dark. Propping his elbows on his knees, he supported his head with both hands. "God," he exclaimed, will I really take the axe? Will I really hit her on the head, split open her skull? Will I really slip in the sticky warm blood, break open the lock, steal and shiver and hide all bloody with the axe? Good Lord, will I really?" As he said it, he shook like a leaf. "What's the matter with me, though?" he continued, sitting up again, deeply astonished. "Didn't I know I could never go through with it? So why have I been making myself suffer? Even yesterday when I went to size up that project, even yesterday I understood that I'd never make it. So why am I stewing now? Why have I been in doubt up to this very moment? When I was going to be down the stairs yesterday, why, I said to myself it was filthy, lousy, foul. Awake. The very idea turned my stomach and filled me with horror. No, I won't make it. Although in all that reckoning there's no doubt, although every conclusion I came to this last month is clear as day and as true as arithmetic. God, all the same, I can't bring myself. I won't make it. Why, up to this very moment." He got up and looked around him in surprise, as though wondering why he had come here, as he walked to the Tuknov bridge. He was pale, his eyes were burning, he felt weary in every limb, yet suddenly he seemed to be able to breathe more freely. He felt that he had flung off the fearful burden that for so long weighed upon him, and he felt suddenly at ease and calm within himself. "Oh God," he prayed, "show me the way! I renounce that damned dream of mine!" As he crossed the bridge, he gazed calmly and quietly at the Neva, at the bright glow of the bright red sunset. In spite of his feebleness, he did not feel especially tired. It was as though the abscess in his heart, gathering all month, had suddenly burst. Freedom! He was free now from that witchcraft, that devilment, that spell, that obsession. Subsequently, when he recalled everything that happened to him in those days, moment by moment, point by point, bit by bit, he was always struck, almost superstitiously, by that one circumstance, not in itself unusual, but which afterward constantly seemed to him a kind of predestined turning point of his fate. Actually, he could not at all understand or explain to himself why, weary and exhausted as he was, instead of going home by the shortest and most direct route, he went via the Haymarket, which was out of his way. The detour was not a long one, but obviously a detour and unnecessary. Dozens of times, of course, he walked home without remembering the streets along which he had come. Yet why, he always asked, why did such an important meeting for him so decisive and yet so extraordinarily accidental take place in the Haymarket, where he had no reason to be going, just then, at that hour, at that moment of his life, when he happened to be in just the mood and under just those circumstances, when that meeting alone could have exerted the most decisive and most conclusive influence on his entire destiny. It was as though it had purposely been lying in wait for him. It was almost 9 when he came walking along Haymarket Square. All the tradespeople at the tables, at the trays, in the stores, and in the stalls were closing their establishments or clearing off and packing their goods, and like eating houses on the lower floors, in the dirty, fetid yards of the houses of Haymarket Square, and most of all, and around the saloons, a large and varied crowd of peddlers and rag-pickers gathered. In his aimless street wandering, Raskolnikov liked these places and the neighboring alleys above all. Here his rags attracted no one's arrogant attention, and he could go dressed as he pleased without scandalizing anybody. And at the corner of Connie Place, a street peddler and his wife had been displaying their goods on 2 tables: thread, lace, chintz cloth, and so forth. They had been preparing to go home, but lingered on to talk to a woman they knew who had come by. This was Lizaveta Ivanova, or simply Lizaveta, as everyone called her, the younger sister of Iona Ivanova, the old pawnbroker woman who Raskolnikov had been to see yesterday to pawn his watch and size up his project. He had known all about this Lizaveta for a long time, and she even knew him slightly. She was a tall, awkward, shy, meek woman, a bit feeble-minded, 35 years old, and completely enthralled to her sister, working for her day and night, trembling before her and suffering even her blows. She stood hesitantly holding a bundle in front of the peddler and his wife, and she was listening to them attentively. They seemed to be explaining something to her especially heatedly. When Raskolnikov suddenly caught sight of her, a strange feeling, something like the most profound astonishment, possessed him, although there was nothing astonishing in this meeting. You better make up your mind yourself, Lizaveta Ivanova," the peddler was saying loudly. "Come tomorrow, around 7. They'll be here then." "Tomorrow?" Lizaveta drawled thoughtfully, as though she could not make up her mind. What a panic Iona Ivanova's got you in," gabbled the peddler's wife, a sharp little woman. "Look at you, you're just but a little kid. She's not even your sister, just a stepsister. But boy, has she got you under her thumb." "I advise you this time not to say anything to Iona Ivanova," her husband interrupted. "Just come without asking her. It'll be worth your while. Your sister won't mind later." "Come?" 7 o'clock tomorrow. They'll send somebody, too, and you can make up your own mind." "And we'll have some tea," added the wife. "All right, I'll come," Lizaveta said, still hesitant, however, and she began slowly walking away. Raskolnikov had already passed by and heard no more. He walked by quietly, unnoticed, intent not to miss a single word. His initial astonishment gave way to horror, as though a chill had crawled down his back. He had learned suddenly, all at once, and altogether unexpectedly, that somehow at 7 in the evening, Lizaveta, the old woman's sister and the only person who lived with her, would not be at home, and therefore the old woman at exactly 7 o'clock in the evening would be home alone. He was only a few steps from his house. He entered his room like a man condemned to death. He had not chosen, and was not capable of choosing. Yet suddenly, with all his being, he felt he had no longer any freedom of choice, that he had no alternative, and that suddenly everything had been conclusively decided. And even if he waited for years on end, with his plan always in mind, for a similar opportunity, he could not have found any more obvious for carrying out his intention successfully than the one which suddenly presented itself. In any case, he would have found it difficult indeed to discover on the very eve, and for certain, with greater accuracy or less risk, without dangerous inquiries and investigations, that the next day at such an hour, and such, that the old woman against whose life an attempt was being prepared would be at home and absolutely alone. Now we'll read chapter 6. However, I think my boyfriend wants to meet up with me, because he was shaking my car, and he was like, "Bitch!" No, he wasn't like that. So yeah, do you think Raskolnikov will go through with the murder? It's called Crime and Punishment for a reason. Alright, see you.